I'm really happy to be with you here today. As many of you know, this is my last month here in Santa Cruz. It's very bittersweet, but it's also part of something bigger that I think it's bigger than me. It's bigger than Reverend Elijah. It's bigger than our community. Our whole world has been moving through so much in the last year and a half plus, and gosh, it's been longer than that, because if it's not, if it wasn't the politics, it was the pandemic and lots of discord. And I think that we're learning how to navigate these rough seas. And this time in our community when we are getting ready to move through this transition is another opportunity to practice how to navigate things that might challenge us or give us feelings of discord or upset. Our monthly theme this month is pausing for guidance, and it is a perfect theme. It's a perfect landscape to remind us that when we get into those places where things are challenging, when maybe we're not enjoying what's going on, maybe it's kind of unlovely, that the pause, that little time to take a breath, to lift our heads and to look around us to see what's going on, packs a lot of power for us. It gives us the ability to separate from what it is that we're seeing out in the world of condition and effects, so that we can begin to recall and remember who we are, to remember who we've come to be, to remember that this thing that might be happening on the outside of us in the world around us is just temporary. It's just the thing that's happening in the moment. And they're all reminders for us. Reminders to come back home to our heart. Reminders to come back home to our marvelous minds and to be really present. The other thing that's kind of cool, I love synergy. I do. I just love synergy. And the other thing that I think is pretty cool right now is that today, August 8th, is a new moon. And it's the new moon of the Lion's Gate. And the new moon, with many cultures, understand that new moon is a time for planting seeds. It's a time for setting intentions. It's a time for setting new projects. So here we have this auspicious opportunity in our community to really set our intentions for what we want our next yet to be. And so we have all month to really pause, to drop down, to see what is it that's coming up for us, to begin to understand that it's not only the seeds that we plant, but the soil that we've cultivated to plant those seeds. And that's the soil of our soul. That's the soil of the community that we're in. I don't know about you, but I'm involved in a spiritual community because you remind me to open my heart. You remind me to be curious. You remind me that there's something going on besides what I'm seeing out in the world. And so I keep coming back to my spiritual community so that you can uplift me, and many hands make light work. And we can reflect that for each other when we forget. It's pretty easy to forget. I don't know about you. It's pretty easy to forget. I just turn on that box in my, we don't use dials anymore, it's a click. Turn on that box in my house and watch the news or see what's coming through in my news feed, and absolutely I get reminded of what the world thinks is important, what the world wants me to pay attention to. Our quote for today I thought was very apropos to where we are right now, and I just want to read it to you again because it's another one of those resonance points, those reminders of where we are right now. Every pull of our soul is God seeking to express itself more fully through us. It is our job to live our lives to the fullest, expressing spirit in everything we do. And so when I get stirred up, that quote comes right to mind. No. No, when I get stirred up, I do like you do. I like check it out. I want to know all the juicy stuff. Like there's drama there. What's going on? And I'm not really centered. That's kind of the human experience we have. And so I need some place in my life where I can pull myself in, where I can begin to see whatever's happening out in the world around me for what it is, at face value. We teach that everything is created twice, first in consciousness and then in form. So by the time I see it out in the world, that's an old idea. And so it's time for me to bring myself back. And when I get triggered out in the world, when things happen, when there's challenges, things that happen that I don't like, and David will tell you there's a lot of things in the world that I don't like from time to time, when it feels unlovely to me, that's the opportunity. It's like the emotional hit that happens when I have to face change or challenge. It's like the veil's getting blown back, right? And I can either keep my head down and keep refeeling whatever the drama is that's before me, or I can recognize that it's an opportunity to look up. It's an opportunity to be able to look up with my spiritual eyes. One of my beloved teachers, Kathy Ann Lewis, taught me this wonderful practice that I want to share with you this morning. And she actually got it from Emma Curtis Hopkins. And it is the practice of looking up. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a minute. And bring forth something that you feel challenged by. Just for a moment, and we won't leave you there. And notice your body temple. Notice if you're feeling contraction anywhere, or some tightness in your belly, or the base of your spine. Just feel into your body for a moment as you think about this challenge. And then I want to invite you to open your eyes, still having this challenge in front of you with your eyes open, and to look not only forward, but to move your gaze to right about where the wall and the ceiling meet. Not so that it's painful, but just to raise your gaze and to look up with your eyes open, continuing to have that challenge inside of you, and to think and to notice how your body temple feels now as you look up. Now, my guess is you felt a little shift in your body, that something was beginning to give way. Eckhart Tolle teaches in many of his writings about the pain body. And the pain body is this emotional garment that we all wear as human beings that feeds on pain. It feeds on the rethinking and the refeeling and the resentment that comes up when we have challenging situations in our life. But these feelings and these experiences don't have to be places of torture where we're continuing to drag ourselves through the mud. They can be reminders. They can be opportunities for us to begin to know that it's time for us to look up. It's time for us to begin to know what this experience is, what this feeling is, to investigate it. Because my feeling is that and my experience and what I've learned to do is that when discord comes up in my life, when challenges come up, that this trigger there is there for me to look below it and to see what needs to be released. It's kind of like having a boil on your skin that you know there's something underneath it that wants to be released. It's not there to punish me. It's not there to do me harm. It's there to get my attention, to know that there's something that needs my attention so that I can give it and my consciousness the time and the pause to redirect myself, to learn what it is to learn from the discord, to open up, and to move forward. It feels like when I look around and I see all the things that are going on in the world that we're hell-bent on othering, right? We're hell-bent on othering. And what does othering mean? Othering is when we have a situation that comes up and we begin to immediately go and try to figure out whose fault it is. Because it's not my fault. It must be yours. And I think that place of judgment often brings us to blame and shame and creates this fictitious reality of separation and otherness. When the truth is, there's only one of us here. This is God wanting to express itself in its highest and most open and expressive way as each one of us. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not talking about a spiritual bypass when discord comes up and I'm just going to pretend that everything's okay, it's all light and love. When I have these hiccups in life, when this change comes, when transition comes, it's an opportunity for me to garden my consciousness, to begin to pull the weeds, to begin to look at what it is that's no longer serving me, to figure out what have I placed on the altar of my consciousness that is an obstacle to my true wholeness and completeness. Everything that we experience because we've either created it, we've promoted it, we've allowed it, or we step in it. Sometimes we just step in it. But in order to transcend, in order to move through, it's up to us to begin to look within, to see what it is that needs to be released from within me. I find myself in a constant cycle of facing my false beliefs and then needing to release them. Facing my false beliefs again and needing to release them. It happens in traffic a lot. It happens in those places where I just, I'm not getting my way. We have this culture that, has created this need for us to, we need to get what we want. And if I'm not getting what I want, then you must be in my way. And I think the tumultuous time we've been in over the last many years is an opportunity for us to begin to see what it is that we need to let go of so that we can remember and recall our oneness and to step into a greater sense of love. I heard this powerful quote yesterday. I had the privilege of teaching ministerial students, and one of them presented me with this quote, and I want to share it with you because it just woke me up when I heard it. And it goes like this. And God said, love your enemies. And I obeyed God, and I loved myself. Yeah, that was my experience when I heard it. Like, oh, yeah, I've just been schooled by that. Absolutely. This opportunity to love our enemies is to really begin to dive deep into that emotion of love and to love ourselves. So in order for us to love others, we need to love ourselves. In order for us to forgive others, we need to forgive ourselves. We need to start there to create that embodiment of that beautiful emotion so that we can walk it out. So that when the world pops up and gets in my face, like it does, and something's happening that I don't want to happen, that I can remember that this is, like the Course in Miracles says, another call to love, another call to look within myself, another call to intimacy, which if you break the word down is into me see. Into me see, and allow you to see me and for me to really see you. So as we move through this leadership transition this month, as we say our thank yous and our goodbyes, as I prepare to move to Southern California, and as we begin to really create this beautiful, loving, welcoming space for Reverend Elijah as he steps into leadership in this community, I'm going to invite you to look at the little ouchy places that come up. Maybe One of those ouchy places is, oh, here we go again. Or maybe one of those ouchy places is, I don't like what's going on. But to let those things rise up, to look up with your spiritual eyes, to allow yourself to see what it is that's on the altar of your consciousness that's ready to be released so that you can be part of this new story that this community is calling in. I'm so excited for us. I really know that there is some amazing energy that's taking place, and it's shifting us, and it's cracking some of us open, and it really is, as Lucy said so beautifully, there's this beautiful opportunity for us to walk through this with harmony and with grace. And I'm so proud of each one of us who has chosen to keep our hearts and our minds open and to welcome the newness. I really love all of you very much, and this last month is just an opportunity for us to really appreciate each other and trust that this transition is really opening us up to something new. Okay, let's pray, shall we? So from this place of knowing that that power and that presence that lives within me and lives within each one of us is truly the power that animates all life, I know that each one is open to possibility, curious about what's next, feeling the feelings, allowing what needs to come up, so that we can truly be present for the grace of God, of Spirit, that knows how to move us through any situation. There is nothing that we face as beloved human beings that we must face alone. We are always carried, like the footprints prayer, where the person who's been suffering sees God and says, "Where have you been?" And God simply asks them to turn around and say, "See, in the footprints in the sand, there were the hardest times that you walked through. There was only one set of footprints because I was carrying you." And I know that each one of us is carried through this beloved transition, through this change, as we continue to pause, to feel in our hearts for that love that will carry us through, that will build the newness, that will create the bridge for our beloved transition. And so it is with a grateful heart that I know this highest and this best. I know it for myself. I know it for every community member. I know it for our beloved Reverend Elijah. And I know it for you. And so I simply anchor this prayer in the power of love and in the power of the law, knowing it is done. And together we say, and so it is.